What's going on everyone, Zigen here and welcome to Zigen Builds. Today I'm excited to share with you my Kratos inspired God of War build for Assassin's Creed Odyssey. This is a brawler slash axe build and it's really fun to play. There's just something so brutally satisfying and different with just using your fists while in battle. So just a little background for those of you who aren't too familiar with the God of War series. Kratos is the son of Zeus. He's a very powerful demigod born in Sparta. He's known for using the Blades of Chaos as well as devastating hand-to-hand combat attacks. In the latest game, he also uses his Leviathan Axe and also utilizes the Spartan Rage ability. Now this build surprisingly packs quite a lot of punch. And also in addition to that, I was able to put a lot of tankiness and survivability onto the build, even while using the Falls of Olympus engrave. Just a reminder, this isn't the most highly damaging min-maxed one that I've made, but for roleplay purposes, it's still very optimized and viable to use in Nightmare difficulty. Before we get into the build details, if it's your first time here, please leave a like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it and it would really help me out a lot. Alright, thanks so much guys and let's get right into it. Like I said, this build is based on Kratos from the God of War games, so I really wanted to try and emulate some of his main attributes and characteristics. The first one of which is his brutal hand-to-hand combat skills. That's why we are not using any weapon for the first slot. For our secondary weapon, we are using the Minotaur's Labris. This is because Kratos also uses the Leviathan Axe in his game. The stats are also perfect for us since it has warrior damage, crit damage, and -1 adrenaline cost for overpower abilities, which will be one of our bread and butter moves for this build. You'll also want to engrave armor penetration on it since we want to maximize our damage output while using our fists. For the bow, we have warrior damage, all damage, crit chance, and we place the +100 damage but health cap to 25% Falls of Olympus engrave. Now don't worry too much about this since we will have a lot of defense and abilities that will offset that, which you will see later on. Moving on to the helmet, we have warrior damage, crit chance at full health, and will engrave the ISO enhanced perk from the 3rd Atlantis DLC. Now, it wouldn't be a God of War build without Kratos' famous Spartan Rage. That is why we're using this perk to simulate that. Combine it with the battle cry of Ares and Ares' last breath, and you will take hits but just keep on coming. For the chest, we're using warrior damage, all damage, crit damage, so this is a perfect warrior chest piece. And we're adding to that 15% all resistances for more tankiness and to get that 90% total melee resistance. For the boots, we're going with warrior damage, crit chance at full health, crit damage at full health. This is pretty much a standard for most high damage builds, and we're gonna put 20% more warrior damage on top of that. For the gloves, we're using warrior damage, crit damage while at full health, crit chance, and we're gonna engrave the +30% melee resistance on it. Another characteristic of Kratos that I wanted to highlight is his incredible durability. Being a demigod, Kratos is able to deal out massive punishment and is also able to soak in a lot of damage as well. And for the waist, we're using warrior damage, more melee resistance, crit damage while at full health, and the 5% crit chance and 25% crit damage while at full health from the Nemean Lion set. Okay, now so let's take a look at the abilities. Because this is mostly a warrior build, naturally, we are going to rely mainly on warrior abilities. I'll show you what I have on my ability wheels, and the rest are mostly just passives, which you can copy. Our first ability is going to be the Chronos Time Shift. This is the enhanced version, and I mainly use this for the ground smash when I start to get surrounded by groups of enemies. Our second ability is going to be the Sparta Kick. This is a very useful ability and I use it as a kind of crowd control tool in order to separate your enemies. Because as a brawler, we'd want to engage in 1v1 battles as much as possible rather than fighting multiple enemies at the same time. Our third one is the Battle Cry of Ares. We are using the regular version for this build because it simulates the Spartan Rage ability that Kratos has. I like to use it together with the Ares' last breath because combining the two together is like having an extra ISO enhanced perk. And the last one is going to be Shield Breaker. We should always remember to use this ability against shielded enemies because otherwise it will be very difficult to deal with them and you can get easily overwhelmed, especially against those elites. On the next ability wheel, our first ability is going to be Slow Time. This is particularly helpful when fighting multiple enemies, and I also like to activate it together with the Battle Cry of Ares. Our second ability is the Ares Last Breath. This is the upgraded version. Like I mentioned, using this together with the Battle Cry of Ares kind of gives you a second ISO enhanced perk. And if you time it correctly, you will have this invincibility loop where you activate this with the Battle Cry of Ares while the ISO enhanced perk is on cooldown. Our third ability is the Fury of the Bloodline. I use this mostly for the instant adrenaline gain and for the animation cancelling, since it's not as powerful when just using your fists. The last one is Bull Rush. One thing to note is that you can only access this ability when you have a weapon equipped, so you cannot use it while fighting barehanded. And of course, we're going to rely heavily on our overpower attacks, mostly for elites and mercenaries, which now only requires 2 adrenaline bars instead of the usual 3. Looking at the stats, we have plus 371% warrior damage, 180% assassin damage, and 150% hunter damage. On our critical modifiers, we have a 95% crit chance while at full health and plus 650% on our critical hit damage while at full health, which is great since anything above 600% is good enough for nightmare difficulty. And on our defensive modifiers, we have 150% armor bonus plus 90% melee resistance, which will give us all the tankiness that we need on top of the ISO enhanced perk and our other abilities. So for the Masteries, just to make this quick, I'll just scroll down and you can just pause and rewind the video. No worries if you have fewer points than mine, it's still going to work. The important thing to note is that the primary ones to get are the ones that I have maxed out. Most especially the crit chance at full health, crit damage at full health, melee resistance, range resistance, and the damage restored as health. You'd want those maxed out first, and if you have any leftover points, you can go and work on those secondary ones. Lastly, let's go over the Transmog real quick, since I think this look is really awesome and fits Kratos quite well. For the axe, we are using the Lawgiver from the Lawgiver set. I think it looks quite nice with the red and gold accents. For the bow, we're using the Precursor Reflex Bow from the Atlantis DLC. For the helmet, we're just using the Hidden Head. For the chest, we're going to use the Hunter's outfit to get those trademark Kratos markings. For the boots, we are using the Greek Sandals Black Iron version. For the arms, I went with the Warrior's Restraints from the Spartan Renegade set to kinda get Kratos' chained look from the past games. And lastly, for the waist, we are using the Master Assassin's Belt. You get that from the Darius outfit from the second DLC. So that is the God of War build, guys. As you can see, combining the Brawler build with all the abilities and tankiness really makes for a fun playstyle and truly makes you feel like a badass on the battlefield. I hope you guys enjoyed. I had fun making this build. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe so I know that you want more of these kinds of videos. Also, let me know in the comments below your thoughts on the video because editing and doing voiceovers is new to me, so I would love to hear your feedback. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, guys, much love.
That's what you get!
Boy, look at me! Look at me, boy! Boy! Inside, boy.